Okay, welcome back, folks. We are now moving on to the miscellaneous motor vehicles bill because there's a provision in that bill that deals with individuals who are in DCF custody and their access to official documents from the Department of Motor Vehicles. So we have with us Damian Leonard and Amanda Churchill-Kipp and Matthew Rosso. Thank you very much. It's I don't remember if you've been here yet this year at all.
No.
I think we might be hitting like 80% of Ledge Council on this committee so far this year. So we'll do a brief introduction. And just so for people around the outside, you know the drill, we go around the outside. So Teresa Wood from Waterbury, and I also serve Bolton, Buellscore, and Huntington.
Ray Garofano, Essex and Essex Junction.
Hi, I'm Jubilee McGill, and I represent Bridport, Middlebury, New Haven, and Weybridge.
Hello, I'm Esme Cole of Hartford.
Hi, my name is Zahn Eastis. I live in Guilford and also serve Vernon.
Doug Bishop, I represent Colchester's Chittenden 20 District.
Brenda Steady, East Milton, Westford.
Dan Noyes, representing Belvedere, Johnson, Wolcott, and Hyde Park.
You sound like you're wondering.
Remember.
Around the outside.
Matt Russo, Deputy Commissioner for DMV.
Amanda Churchill-Kipp, DCF Family Services.
Lori?
Lori Muscovy, Assistant.
And finally,
Save the best for last.
there you go. Todd Nielsen, representing Brandon and Forestdale.
Great, thank you.
And I'm Damian Leonard from Legislative Council. So the bill that you have in front of you, which I'm going to pull up on the screen, is S-123. It's what we call the miscellaneous motor vehicle bill. Typically, it includes changes to Title 23, which is our motor vehicle law. A lot of these changes this year are technical changes, but some of the non-technical changes are actually what we're here to talk about today. And what that is broadly, and I'll let DCF and DMV speak to this a little bit more, but currently for individuals who are transitioning out of the foster care system, DCF pays for their learner's permits or non-driver IDs or operator's licenses and other fees associated with that. What this is doing is it's waiving those fees. So it will essentially be transferring the cost from the bottom line of DCF to the bottom line of DMV, and it'll be taking out some of the administrative work that goes on in processing these transactions. There will still be some administrative burden for DMV. They're going to have to set up their systems to process these transactions, but that's essentially what we're doing. Getting into the details of the language here, I'll pull up the language. DCF can really speak to why we chose that specific language better. I don't know very much about the foster care system and the various requirements there. In fact, I assume that everyone sitting around this table knows more than I do. So, but getting to that, our first section is section 5, which is found on page 8 of the bill. And I pulled it up behind us. This is the non-driver ID. So this is just your regular state ID, can't drive a car with it, but it gives you a government issued photo ID. And if we go down to subdivision 3 here, we already have a fee waiver of the $29 ID fee for individuals who have surrendered their driver's license in connection with a suspension or revocation of their license due to a physical or mental condition that prevents them from driving. And then we're adding to that the new language here that would allow an individual under 23 years of age who was in the care and custody of the Commissioner for Children and Families pursuant to 33 VSA 49034 in Vermont after attaining 14 years of age. And this language was, we went through a couple revisions of this language and tailored it so that we capture just the individuals transitioning out of the foster care system in the state. And then I'll walk you through the other instances where that language appears. It appears in, I think, another half dozen spots in the bill. And then I'll let you ask questions. So the next place we're going to see it, I'm going to skip down here to fees. This is the fees associated with driver's license. So we're seeing the additional fee of $4 per year for a motorcycle endorsement, which is on top of your license fee. So if you have an operator's license and you get a motorcycle endorsement, I left that in there for informational purposes. And then individuals under 23 years of age who are in the care and custody, again, would be provided with operators' licenses or privilege cards at no charge. And then no additional fee shall be due for the motorcycle endorsement, again, for those same individuals. And then the licenses and privilege cards, they are the same thing, except a license meets the federal Real ID standards, which requires specific documentation. The privilege cards are for individuals who choose not to or are unable to meet those documentation standards. So it's the same thing for state ID purposes, but a privilege card cannot be used as a federal ID for purposes of flying and things like that. Then we get to learner's permits in section 9 of the bill. So permit has a fee of $24 at the time of application, and that would be waived for an individual exiting foster care. There is also a fee for an examination of $11, which would be waived for an individual exiting foster care. And then a motorcycle learner's permit, again, would be waived for an individual exiting foster care, which is a $24 fee.
Can I interrupt just a moment? You reference exiting childcare, but it's for an age range as low as 14. So these are.
So they were in the custody from 14 and up, and they're under 23 years of age. And I'm going to let DCF talk to why that age range was chosen a bit more, because I don't know enough about the system to understand that. But I think there are individuals, I should say there are probably individuals who are still in foster care who this covers as well. So I should have said in or transitioning out of the foster care system. And then for a duplicate or renewal learner's permit. So if you're like I was and you didn't take your license test until you were 18, and you need to renew your learner's permit, this would again cover that renewal fee and waive that. And then I think that is it for these changes. Yes. So it's just the regular driver's license. This doesn't apply to CDLs and things like that. So it's just regular driver's license, regular ID. And those are the changes in there where we've done the fee waiver.
Thank you, Damien. Questions? People have questions for Damien before we move to DCF and
DCF.
yeah. Okay.
They can certainly provide more detailed information than I can.
Okay. Thank you, Damien. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Who wants to go first, or if you want to be together, it doesn't matter to me. Okay, there's another chair there you can pull up. We did pull up and post the presentation that you did to transportation, Amanda.
Great. I do have a statement that I could read. That would be helpful. Yeah. Great. Thanks so much for having me here today. For the record, my name is Amanda Churchill-Kipp. I am a policy and practice specialist in the Adolescent Services Unit at DCF Family Services. I've been working with or on behalf of transition age youth in DCF custody for about 23 years or so. There are some slides I think you folks have access to, but my statement talks about like the who, the what, the how many, and the history of how we got here, specific to foster youth and DMV fees. So I wanted to share some basic information about youth in DCF custody to get us started. There are currently 208 youth over age 15 in foster care in Vermont. These youth have been in DCF custody for an average of 27 months. They live in foster homes, group homes with their parents independently all over Vermont and also out of state. These youth will be adopted, return home, transition to another state agency, or become independent at age 18. A small number will stay open with DCF for services for a time. Most youth will continue to access voluntary transition and aftercare services through our contracted youth development program, commonly known as YDP. YDP serves youth who are ages 14 to 23 who were in foster care after the age of 14. Case managers provide a high level of individual support to youth around their transition to adulthood goals, which frequently include obtaining their ID and driving credentials. YDP does have flexible funding budget that supports this population, and they do provide considerable funding for youth transportation needs, mostly around driver's ed, car insurance, and vehicle maintenance, wear tires, that kind of thing. DCF is required by federal law and state policy to assist all youth in custody to obtain their identity documents and driver's licenses. YDP provides DCF considerable support in this work, and it remains a challenging administrative burden for a number of reasons. In the legislature last year, the crossover budget memo from this committee recommended waiving DMV ID and licensure fees for youth under age 23 who had experienced foster care. We shared support for our proposal at that time, but in committee discussion, there was a question about whether state agencies could sort out the logistics without statutory change. To that end, DCF has been partnering with the DMV this year to identify ways for this population to more easily obtain their identification permits and licenses. And although we found some ways to smooth the process, we've determined that a statutory change that waives ID permits and license fees for youth who are or were in foster care would be supportive to this work and really promote government efficiency in this area. We estimate that this would support approximately 150 or less youth annually and cost between $8,000 and $15,000 per year. Specifically, over the past 12 months, our contractor YDP provided about $7,300 for this purpose, and this supported 120 youth to obtain their non-driver IDs, permits, licenses, and replacements. The youth development program is our contractor.
Okay. Thanks.
So if a cost, our sense is that the total eligible pool is about 600 youth. We estimate that only probably less than 150 youth per year would be accessing these fees. To note for your folks' awareness, there are significantly less youth in foster care than there were in the past, and we do expect that the total eligible pool number will continue to decline over time. If the cost waiver approach were not possible or preferable to the legislature, we would continue to work with the DMV to pursue an MOU that would include deferment of costs and batch billing. So for us, this is really about easing the administrative burden of this work and redirecting staff efforts. For DCF, the overall cost of identification permits and licenses for foster youth is quite small, but also really meaningful. Again, the administrative burden for processing these funds is high. Specifically, there are 8 separate activities in this process for DCF and our contractors that really are about moving money back and forth, but it's about writing a small grant. There's an approval process, tracking, exchanging of funds and checks, all for pretty small fees, as Damien pointed out there. So if we were able to relieve our staff of some of these administrative duties, we anticipate increased case management and administrative capacity that could support youth in additional ways. And then lastly, though I know you folks are keenly aware, I do want to reiterate the critical nature for all people, especially those transitioning to adulthood, for basic identification in order to access employment, education, housing, banking, credit, and to generally take steps toward living independently, both safely and legally. And of course, like having access to independent transportation, particularly in our rural state, it significantly improves education and employment outcomes for youth. And again, I know many members of this committee are aware of and really sensitive to normalcy needs for this population. But, what I would say about that is like getting your driver's license is a really normal and important milestone for adolescents. Currently, only 37% of YDP youth over age 16 have a driver's license. We anticipate that if these costs were waived, it could improve outcomes for young people and provide additional support to those who experience state custody.
Do you know how that, I'm just curious about that 37% for YDP youth. How does that compare to the general population of youth at age 16?
I don't have that information. I don't. That does include everyone who's accessing YDP, which is, youth ages through age 22. So that whole group.
That whole group, yeah. Go ahead, Representative Stephanie.
Right now, through the DCF, it's confidential. How would they identify themselves if they go through DMV?
We would, I envision we would develop an MOU with a data sharing agreement
Between the two departments?
between the two departments that would provide a list of eligible youth, essentially.
But how would the youth go in? How would they go to the window and say, I get this free? How do they do that?
They would.
I was just gonna say, if we didn't have a data sharing process, then a document from CF would suffice.
So it's under their name? So you would still need help on the DCF side, administrative, to make this work?
Yes. For youth under 18, there would still need to be a guardian who signs the forms. For youth in DCF custody, that's the commissioner's designee, which is often the family services worker.
And how about the computer system? It's set up to do the waiver?
Our computer system, yes, yeah, it's a simple programmatic change that can be implemented
No cost?
to us.
Yeah.
It's we're already rolling out with our
Yeah.
new system, and we've had time to.
And what about the foster children, youth that have been adopted? They qualify too?
If they were adopted after the age of 14, they would be eligible.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you for sort of giving us the background and trying to reduce these barriers. And now let's hear from DMV and I know that DCF and DMV had agreed last year to work together to try to resolve and solve this sort of administrative issue to try to reduce some of these barriers for the youth. So
Yeah, we've been working together. Sorry, for the record, Matt Russo, Deputy Commissioner. We've been working together for a while. I think that this is just going to be an easy programmatic change for us and lift some of the burden from them.
mhm.
Like I said, if we don't have some kind of a database or a data sharing system, a document that we can come up with between the commissioners would suffice for us to know what their status is.
So picking up on Representative Steady's question, so would this be something that the DCF family services worker would assist the youth in applying for their license, or I am trying to figure out how, like,
I still.
they go to the window and, you know, would their name be on some database that said, Mary Smith, and, I was eligible for this, and so they
The
get,
best way to move forward now, if this were to pass, would just be like some sort of a form that's been signed with their information on it. And if it came directly from DCF, we would know that they are exempted from that.
okay.
But you would still need you would still need administration at DCF to still be processing it. I don't see the cost savings with, you still have to have the administration at DCF to do this paperwork to bring to you. I see it as extra work.
The largest piece of our administrative burden is really around spending money at DCF. So, we contract out funds to the youth development program to do the lion's share of this work. And then they have to write a small grant with the youth for these fees, which again is like $29 to $62 typically.
So every youth they write a grant for?
Yes.
Oh, okay, so
And then it
that's,
needs to be approved, and then it needs to be tracked.
that's okay, go ahead.
Yeah, there's a process where there's the subcontractors spend the money and then they request reimbursement from our contractor. And then the contractor pays them, and then the contractor then requests reimbursement from DCF.
Yeah.
And we have to have, contracts in place, tracking,
That's
backup receipts,
Yeah.
all these pieces. So yeah, it's really about that part. I think it's still going to be important for our staff and our contractors to work with individual youth to gather this documentation and to work with the DMV.
See, I was worried about the stigma, having to go up to the window in front of other people and
Yeah.
say,
Yeah,
And that
Sounds like they'll work
that
it.
already happens
Mhm.
in a lot of ways.
yeah. Anything else you'd like to add, Deputy Commissioner?
I think Amanda covered.
Okay. Are there any other questions? So this will be up in the miscellaneous DMV bill. I'm not sure when it's coming to the floor, but we'll see it soon. Friday,
Friday.
yeah. Thank you very much
Thank you.
for explaining this and working to solve this issue for youth who have DCF involvement. And it seems like it'll be a smoother process all the way around. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Damien.
you.
Okay, and if you want to do a survey and see if anybody else at Ledge Council wants to come in.
Who hasn't been here yet?
Well, I've been enjoying these couple of weeks, getting to stop and in more committees than I've seen on here. It's great.
Diversity for you.
Yeah. Getting to meet people.
It's good, it's all good.
Your friends.
Okay, all right, folks, so we're going to be on the floor this afternoon, and depending upon how long we're on the floor, you will have time for constituent work afterwards. Tomorrow, let's just talk about tomorrow for a moment. So we are doing a field trip to Champlain Place at 10 a.m. For those of you coming from the north, there isn't any reason for you to come in before and then go back, so we can just meet there.
Okay, so where is it?
It's in the direct. You will? Okay, thank you, Laura.
Thank you.
And so
Or 11 a.m.
it's at 11, but for people leaving from here, we have to, there's limited parking, so if you're able to carpool, that's great. If not, then just beware, you may have to walk a little ways to the location, okay?
So, okay.
Okay.
How far do you think it is? Wait, Lori's
Yeah.
sending me the directions.
Yeah.
So I can plan.
Yeah, that's okay. No, I
I
have,
think my time, because it takes me an hour to get here.
oh yeah, it's less time because it's closer.
Okay,
It's closer to you.
I'll wait.
Um,
Look it up.
So yes, it is at 11, but they usually start those things pretty much on time. So arrive a few minutes early if you can. Okay.
Okay.
Alrighty. And then we'll be back here, for the House floor. And Friday, the House floor will be in the morning. And then, at this point in time, it looks like they'll reconvene in the afternoon. hopefully for bills that are sent over from the Senate. We'll see what happens. Just to update on H91, the sort of last major bill we have for action in the Senate from our committee. They're hearing amendments today in committee. And then it is slated for the floor. It's on the notice calendar and slated for the floor tomorrow. But as we all know, the education bill is over there and that is causing all sorts of hoopla. So we'll see what happens. So just, watch the calendar. It's also very instructive if you are interested to, if you have a few minutes of spare time, to go to the Senate and actually sit on the Senate floor and listen to how they operate, which is quite a bit different than the House. Just beware, you cannot use these at all. Don't even take them out and look at them, because they'll take them away from you. So
I don't know if I can live without mine.
so anyways, thank you.
I was already worrying.
Thank you all. We'll see you